Hello, hello, and welcome to the brand new show of Grassroots Cricket. This is your host, Ajab Zahid, and the name of this brand new series that we're bringing you is GRC Face-Off. So, when we talk about face-off, what's the first thing that comes to our mind? Not taking our faces off, obviously. We are talking about having a debate on the show. So, the purpose of the show is obviously to promote the debate culture a little bit and to appreciate people for having their opinions rather than trolling them for their opinions. So, we are going to give the floor to our guest today with one topic in mind, and one of our guests is going to be debating in the favor of that particular topic, and the other would be against it. And we are looking forward to having some spicy debate in between our two guests today. It's Behram Qazi and Hassan Hussain Qureshi. So, Hassan Bhai, welcome. Behram, welcome. How are you guys?
We're doing great, Hijab, and I honestly am extremely excited for this. And I think ये बहुत अच्छा idea है to have a video series which promotes discourse. क्योंकि everyone is allowed to have opinions, मगर तमीज के दायरे में, respect के दायरे में रहकर, without getting edgy and trolling another person और उसके ऊपर condescending tone में जवाब देना, उसके बाहर भी एक दुनिया है जिसके अंदर तमीज के दायरे में रहकर आप अच्छी तरीके से एक चीज डिबेट कर सकते हो, जो कि आज मेरे ख्याल से मैं और हसन भाई कोशिश करेंगे.
And I think, Hijab, most importantly, we've always spoken about कि हम change लाना चाहते हैं. This is one very important way to bring change, to show कि it is very possible to completely disagree with a person, but like Behram said, while staying within the limits of being respectful. And I think if we're able to do that, we will definitely bring a positive change to Pakistan cricket like we always want to.
Absolutely. So we are basically promoting a celebration of opinion of each and every person that we come in contact with. So let's start with that. The topic for the first episode today is the Shan Masood white ball conundrum, and we have Behram Qazi, who is against this topic, the inclusion of Shan Masood in the white ball setup of Pakistan. And on the other hand, Hassan Hussain Qureshi will be debating in the favor of Shan Masood being in the white ball team for Pakistan. So we'll kick off the debate. Each of our guests will have 90 seconds to make their point, and at the end, I'll be the judge on who won. So over to you guys.
All right, so I'll start this discourse and debate, and I'm going to quote a Daniel Rasool article for this, actually. अब हम लोगों ने ये देखा है शान मसूद के करियर में throughout. We have to give him credit for constantly working on his game, for constantly upping his game and proving, selectors wrong time and again. बार बार वो बेहतर होकर आते हैं, and he constantly reinvents himself. But as Daniel Rasool poses the $1 million question that after all of this reinvention, what exactly has Shan Masood reinvented himself into? आज का जो शान मसूद है, the Shan Masood of today, what is his brand of cricket and what sort of cricket does he want to play? And to quote a particular line from his article, अगर किसी ने पढ़ा नहीं है जाकर पढ़ें, जबरदस्त किस्म का article है. He talks about how Shan is so aesthetically pleasing, and when he's on song, he looks like the best batter in the world. But ultimately, each time he has an opportunity to perform for Pakistan, he hits a glass ceiling. And therein lies the question of whether or not Shan Masood does deserve a spot in Pakistan's white ball setup. And with that, I think I'll pass on the baton to Hassan Bhai and he can argue against it.
Well, I think that's a valid point, Behram. And look, obviously, I'm a very big Daniel Rasool fan myself. So obviously, Daniel talking about this is something that's there to be taken in. But one thing I think keeps getting ignored. Shan gets picked on the back of his domestic and PSL performances. What I don't like is when people like to suggest that he's getting an opportunity without any reason behind it. He's constantly, like you said, yes, he reinvents himself because that's his way of coming into the team. We don't see a lot of other players doing that. I appreciate the fact that he's willing to go out there, move away from his best position. We saw a lot of debate about the time that he was picked for the World Cup. He did not ask to be picked in that World Cup. He was picked on the basis of his performance. We go into Shan over the last 2 to 3 years, we've been hearing this. Here's some facts. PSL 6, where Multan Sultan won, 7 matches, 7 innings. We all remember he started that campaign a day before being removed from the captaincy, did not play in the beginning of the tournament, comes in at the business end of the tournament, 7 games, 7 innings, 209 runs, strike rate of 142, 25 fours, 7 sixes, 2 50s, important runs in the final. He gets picked. I don't see how people have a problem with him getting picked after that. PSL 7 plays all 12 games for Multan Sultans, who reached the final. 478 runs, a strike rate of 138, 450s, 10 sixes, 54 boundaries. My point is, he's not being picked because he can't play. He's being picked because he clearly can play. Now, where does that come into the other problem? The problem comes in about what have you picked him to do? He's putting up the numbers, whether it's with Derbyshire, whether it's with Multan, whether it's with Balochistan, wherever he's playing, to justify his inclusion. Now, if he's putting up those numbers as an opener, Behram, and he's being asked to bat at 4, I don't think we can blame Shan for that. That's my problem every time with Shan, the white ball player. He is being asked to reinvent himself. You can say he doesn't have a place as a white ball opener. I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with people saying he doesn't deserve to be picked because he gets picked on the back of performances.
Fair enough, Hassan bhai, but I have a counter argument for you, and that is with respect to Shan Masood's strike rate. अब हम सब बात करते हैं मॉडर्न डे क्रिकेट की, how you have to be aggressive और एक जारहाना अंदाज में पावर हिटिंग करनी है आपको आके. Let's all be honest right now. Shan Masood is inventive. He's innovative. He's a touch player. He times the ball really well, but he's not really a power hitter. And the strike rate that he has in T20 cricket is testament to that fact. अगर आप उसके सारे T20s देखें, तो 140 odd games में he has a strike rate of 125. And I actually heard a podcast of Shan Masood with Jared Kimber a few years back on Jared's podcast, The Red Inker. And in that, Shan Masood talked about his T20 game and how he tried to elevate himself into a modern day player. And he had a conversation with the coach, jiske saath he deciphered that to be successful, he needs to average 30 with a strike rate of 130. That's the metric that Shan Masood kept for himself, जो कि शायद आज आप उसको भी challenge कर सकते हैं कि क्या ये enough रहा है, क्या आपको strike rate और ऊपर करनी है. But if I look at Shan Masood's numbers in T20 internationals, डोमेस्टिक में तो मैं आपके साथ बिल्कुल आपसे मुत्तफिक हूं कि शान मसूद मुल्तान हो या डार्बिशर हो या जहां भी खेले, he's churned out the numbers. But in 17 innings in T20 internationals for Pakistan, Shan Masood averages just over 30, so he has that checkbox checked, but his strike rate is 121.91. So by that account, Shan khud satisfied nahi hoga apne numbers se, and 17 T20s is a large enough sample size. So does he merit a spot in the team right now, at least in Pakistan's T20 setup? I don't know. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि मेरिट पे आया नहीं है शान, डेफिनेटली मेरिट पे आया है, मगर क्या उसको इस वक्त होना चाहिए, यहाँ पे मेरे थोड़े से इख्तलाफात आ जाते हैं.
Look, I think that's a fair point when you look at the fact that currently Pakistan has T20 opening riches. Not only do you have Babar and Rizwan, you have Fakhr, who is a natural opener, probably the best opener in PSL history, who's not getting that opportunity. Saim and Haris are knocking on that door. I don't care what anybody says. Those two are making a case to be an opening pair by themselves. My point is, and thank you for bringing that up, 17 T20 internationals, we're going back to 2018. To 2023, over 5 years, 17 T20 internationals is just not enough of a run. And if I'm not wrong, at least the last 3 or 4 of those have not been in his preferred position.
Sorry, Hassan bhai, I'm just going to correct you over here. All of those T20s have come in the recent past because he just made his T20 debut when England toured Pakistan abhi last year.
So we're going back to over a period of 2 years now. Okay, a year and a bit. Let's keep one thing in mind, which I think often gets overlooked. And I think whether you're criticizing someone or you're supporting them, context is very important. Shan opens for a team that has reached 3 finals in a row of the PSL. He is one of the most successful openers, along with this other guy who's a pretty good opener that most of Pakistan also talks about. And again, they have so many problems with Rizu also, but we'll save those for another day. My point is with Shan is that I don't think he's often being played in his best position in T20 eyes. Where he is being played in his best position, you look at his list A record, you look at his T20 record home and overseas, and I think he does the business. Now, can we criticize the strike rate? Yes, we can. But other than Fakhr, and now possibly, I'm possibly looking at Haris. How many of the other openers do we have who are coming in and putting in those strike rates? So, does Shan deserve to open? That's entirely up to the team management, the captain, how they look into it. Does he deserve to be a part of the squad? Absolutely, because you look at the numbers he puts up, PSL 6, PSL 7, you look at his overseas record, you look at his list A record. I think he deserves a place, absolutely, in the squad. Whether he's opening or not is entirely up to the management.
So I'm going to challenge that because I think Pakistan has enough resources, top order resources now, कि आपको शायद शान मसूद की even as a squad player जरूरत ना पड़े. You've got Babar Rizwan, और जो भी आपका opinion हो Babar Rizwan के बारे में, whoever's watching this, you would always have them in your squad, right? Like you would always have them in the squad, of course. And then आपके पास Fakhr Zaman है, who is arguably one of the best T20 players and white ball players in the country. On top of that, you have Mohammad Haris. चलो हारिस की तो ये लग्जरी है ना कि कहीं भी खेल लेता है, even though there's a strong opinion कि उसको ऊपर ही आना चाहिए, power play में ही खेलना चाहिए, but he's shown us time and again that the phase of the game does not impact him. Then you've got Saim Ayub. Now Saim's a lefty as well, और साइम की हमने स्ट्रोक प्ले देख ली है, रेंज देख ली है, इनोवेशन देख ली है, you know that no look lap shot that he plays on the leg side. इतने ज्यादा टैलेंट पूल के अंदर क्या फिर शान मसूद की जगह बनती है इस टीम में? मुझे नहीं लगता. आई डू थिंक दैट शान ने बहुत मेहनत की है एंड आई विश हिम द बेस्ट. मुझे शान मसूद पसंद है. आई थिंक हिज वर्क एथिक इज अमेजिंग. His constant will to improve is amazing. He brings a lot of experience into the squad. He's also a really, really good guy. But does he want a spot in Pakistan's T20 team right now with all of the talent that we have at our disposal? I'm not quite sure about that because देखें, एक चीज तो मेरे ख्याल से हम यहाँ establish कर लेते हैं कि शान मसूद as a middle order option is not going to work out. ओके, इफ यू वांट टू प्ले हिम, आपने भी बार बार कहा है उसको पोजीशन पे खिलाएं, टॉप ऑर्डर में खिलाएं. और जो मैंने आपको सारे टॉप ऑर्डर प्लेयर्स गिनवा दिए हैं, मेरे ख्याल से शान मसूद की जगह आप शायद एक आजम खान को अगर सिलेक्ट कर लेते जो मिडिल ऑर्डर में आपको थोड़ी स्ट्रेंथ देता था, मे बी दैट वुड हैव बीन अ बेटर ऑप्शन. एंड ऑन करंट फॉर्म एंड बेस्ड ऑन ऑल द resources that Pakistan has at their disposal, I don't think Shan Masood warrants a spot in the T20 setup. One day you can argue कि backup opener हो सकता है Shan, क्योंकि list A numbers fantastic, and I think you're going to get into that anyway. But yeah, I think that's my point, Abhi.
No, I think, look, that's a fair enough point. I think, obviously, when you look at the riches that Pakistan have in terms of T20 openers, in terms of the fact that we want to keep attacking openers, yes, fair enough. To Shan's great credit, like you also mentioned, Behram, he's a thorough professional. You know, you never hear about Shan complaining. He's someone, he's a really good influence in the dressing room, whichever dressing room that he's in. He's a guy who's really positive, someone who works really hard on his game all the time. Never hear Shan, you know, going on, mouthing off to the media or complaining about things, gets on with the job, gun fielder. You always see him doing these substitute fielder duties. And it's really good to see the way he comes on, the energy he brings. And yes, absolutely. Now we move on to, you know, the other white ball, the one that's going to be slightly important come October. And the fact that we're looking at someone who has 103 games, 4,743 runs. Again, one-day cricket, again, I understand strike rate. Yes, people want a bigger strike rate. He averages 56.46 with 1400s in 103 games. This is where I want to come to very quickly to an important point. Another left-handed Pakistani opener who was mercilessly trolled. And while I never trolled him, I did have a lot of complaints at that time, was Imam ul Haq. Imam was given a consistent run. Today, Imam is probably, after Babar, your most important one-day international batsman. You need to give players a proper run. If we had lost hope with Imam, one of the criticisms with Imam was कि वो अपनी 100 करता है, team match हार जाती है. भाई 10 बंदे और भी खेल रहे होते हैं. The situation for me remains with Imam was we have seen the best of Imam as he's been given an opportunity. It's harsh to judge Shan when he's not consistently been able to get an opportunity in any format. That's one of the criticisms I have when people are very quick to judge him. We're going to give him 2 games, 3 games. He's going to bat at 4. He's going to bat at 5. And then we're going to be like, he doesn't deserve to be an opener. When I look at your one-day international backup openers, I don't see anybody better than Shan. I'm not saying he has to start. But there is, God forbid, a possibility of Imam getting injured, of Fakhr getting injured. Shan is the next best guy. And that's why I would have him in your one-day team simply because of his list A record.
I think there's merit to that argument क्योंकि शान का बहुत ही शानदार लिस्ट ए रिकॉर्ड है and yes, definitely all puns intended over there. मगर फिर हसन भाई आप ये देखते हैं कि शान is 33 and you've got a lot of youth coming in. You've got Abdullah Shafiq and he should arguably be your backup opener in one-day cricket. This is of course another debate और इसके ऊपर बहुत बात हो सकती है. But then of course Saim Ayub भी आपके पास है, up and coming player, left-handed to your point. और पाकिस्तान कप की अगर परफॉर्मेंस देखें साइम की तो I believe 10 इनिंग्स के अंदर 461 रन्स किए हैं. बहुत ही जबरदस्त किस्म की बैटिंग का मुजाहिरा किया है and he's in his early 20s. So would Pakistan want to invest in youth in the future? Possibly, you know, it makes sense. मगर अगर इस वर्ल्ड कप को अगर आप देखें, I don't mind Shan going as a backup opener. But एक और मैं आखिरी पॉइंट मेरे ख्याल से अपना यही करना चाहूंगा कि if you look at Shan's test career for a bit, right? अब ठीक है, शान को शायद एक ही कंसिस्टेंट रन मिला है बीच में, न्यूजीलैंड सीरीज के बाद वो ड्रॉप हुआ था, बट उससे पहले काफी कंसिस्टेंट रन मिला था. But if I'm not wrong, and someone can correct me in the comments, 28 test matches, 1500 runs, an average under 30, hovering around 28. Which begs to ask the question that why has Shan Masood not able to crack the code with respect to international cricket? 28 टेस्ट हैं तो 28 टेस्ट ना ultimately. तो क्यों नहीं वो कर पाए ये चीज? And he's had flashes of brilliance, but again, I'm going to go to the earlier point that he keeps hitting that glass ceiling, and I do have an issue with that, and uski wajah se thoda sa main hesitant hu. I have mixed feelings with respect to Shan Masood, the cricketer. Shan Masood, the human being, I absolutely love. I hope to have lunch with him someday. That's how, charmed I am by his personality. Magar ye jo consistency hai na Shan Masood ki of not being able to nail a position in the lineup, I think that's a worry for Pakistan, especially given that now he's 33 and soon he'll be towards the wrong side of 30. Or phir aap kya karte ho? So why not blood a youngster as opposed to going back to Shan? But aapko main ye de dunga ki World Cup bahut kareeb hai aur backup opener ke liye agar Shan wahan jata hai, I'm not opposed to that idea.
I think one of the things that Shan has an advantage of, you take Abdullah or Saim, incredible young players, two players I have a lot of time for, wonderful boys, both of them. India in the World Cup is an unforgiving place. The experience that Shan brings, the maturity that Shan brings will hold him in great stead in those places. I'm not saying Abdullah and Saim can't perform. They can absolutely perform, and they might both be better off for that experience also. But right now, I feel that when we look at white ball, now we moved away from T20. We're talking about 50 over cricket. I believe Shan brings that advantage in that he can bat in the top three for Pakistan. In case you have a situation where he has to come in, I believe he can open. He has the numbers. Again, one-day cricket, T20 cricket, very different game. Shan's ability in List A cricket, not just in Pakistani conditions, but the fact that he's consistently performed. Look, let's all be honest, there's not a lot of Pakistani openers being picked up to play county cricket right now. One has just interested him, not just with opening, but with being a captain, and not just any county, probably the most historic and storied county in all of English cricket. So there's something that Shan has, whether it's Mickey Arthur, whether it's Andy Flower, whether it's any of the other coaches, they do believe Shan brings something to that group. For that reason, I believe that at least as far as the one-day squad is concerned, and again, he will play subject to what the management think. I think right now Shan is the right person to go as a backup player. Yes, long term, we absolutely have to look to youth. But I would much rather that Saim and Abdullah are given less harsher environments to come in through and get that opportunity, as opposed to, look, Shan has seen a lot of it. All right. Shan has seen, yes, we're talking about that one run, but this is a guy who got dropped 2 innings after making 160 in Southampton just because he got a duck against Jimmy Anderson. If that's the reason for dropping Pakistani players, you're going to be only playing with Babar Azam in most of your teams. So that's a problem there. But the issue remains that for me, I think Shan, when given the opportunity, has done his best. Maybe for some people, for the management, for a lot of fans, his best isn't good enough. That's fine. I think that's something we can all live with. But you can't fault the guy for trying. You can't fault the guy for going out there, putting his hand up every time he's asked to do something different. And I think for that reason, he's someone who is invaluable as a member of the white ball squad. Whether he plays or he doesn't, of course, is entirely up to how the captain and the management see it.
अच्छा, इसके ऊपर मैं बस ऐड करता चाहूँ ये आखिरी बात. I'll have to agree with Hassan bhai over here that one thing you cannot fault Shan Masood for is his will to improve, his drive, his professionalism, his work ethic, and what he brings to the dressing room. इसके अंदर मैं शान को बहुत ज्यादा क्रेडिट दूंगा. और एक चीज जो मेरे ख्याल से जरा हार्ड डन बाय है ना शान मसूद is the fact that his father was in the PCB. I think this has brought a lot of negative criticism to him, and I'm totally not for any sort of discourse which calls him PR Masood, Pareshan Masood, पर्ची. आई एम नॉट फॉर इट. अगर आपने उसको गेम पे क्रिटिसाइज करना तो करें, इन चीजों पे मत करें. एंड आया वो टीम में तो मेरिट पे ही आया मेरी तरफ से. वहां आकर वो पोजीशन नेल नहीं कर पाया, वो एक अलग कॉन्वर्सेशन है. मगर ये वाली जो सारी डिस्कोर्स है ना, आई हैव एब्सोल्युटली नो टाइम फॉर दैट. एंड आई गेस हिजाब यू कैन टेक ओवर नाउ. बताएं फिर आपके हिसाब से कौन जीता आज.
Well, that was a very healthy debate, guys. So, congratulations for not losing your cool. And that was the purpose, basically. But I was only kidding when I said, okay, I'm going to be the judge of it. It's actually going to be our audience who is going to be the judge of this debate. So, we are going to be leaving it to them to let us know in the comments and with their reactions, like, what do they think? Are they Team Behram? Or are they Team HHQ? So we'll just leave it to them to decide that, and hopefully we'll get a good response from our people as well. And we'll be back with episode 2. So I just want to thank you guys. Although I've never been quiet for that long, I think in my whole life. So yeah, that was a bit surreal kind of experience for me.
Another first.
I know another first. So that was a bit surreal
And
for me.
Hijab, if I can just quickly add something to Behram's very valid point.
Yeah.
We saw it with Khushdil. Nothing broke my heart more than being in the stadium with fans calling Khushdil a parchi. I'm going to repeat this possibly till the day that I pop off. A boy from Bannu making it to play for Pakistan, there is no way he can be a parchi. The same applies to all of our players and to anyone who called Imam that. That's horrible. He was picked on merit. He's shown you he deserves to be there on merit. So anyone calling Shan that, that's absolutely horrible. Because if it wasn't for merit, again, these players, when they put on this shirt and they go and give their all for Pakistan, the least they deserve from all of us fans who love the game and love our country is support. And by all means, criticize someone who gets out for a duck or criticize someone who has a bad innings or drops a catch or whatever. Criticize the performance. Do not criticize the person. Please, this is something we all want to reiterate to all of us. This is part of our drive that I do believe we should all remember that at the end of the day, the players are also humans and the players are also Pakistanis who are out there giving their best. So we can keep debating, guys. Behram and Hijab and I have just shown you it's very possible to debate without using any bad words, without getting angry, or without shouting. Pakistani politicians take note.
And Pakistan
Absolutely.
Cricket Twitter, please take note as well. And I feel very happy to be part of this, initiative. And yes, we're promoting discourse within the realms of respect, tameez ke daire mein, and we hope to have some of you guys on our show as well. And thank you, Ijab. I think you should get credit for this. This was your idea, and I'm loving it already.
Thank you so much. And obviously, the purpose, like you both mentioned, is to make sure that each of us is heard. And like you said, Hassan bhai, we should criticize the performance, not the person. And then again, it goes the same for all of us as well. We can criticize your opinion, but not you. So no personal attacks.
Yeah.
No personal attacks. We're going to keep it very, very respectful. But that
Behram's
does
going to
not
get a few messages though. Behram, I'm
I
sending you a few messages.
I know, but there is always room for banter, guys. So we would love to hear from
Always.
you. Any topics that you guys think that we should be discussing at the moment, anything that you guys want our opinion on, or any special guest you want us to be featuring on GRC Face Off, we are all ears. So we'll be waiting for your feedback. Thank you so much once again, Behram and HSQ, and hopefully I will see you guys again in the coming episodes. Thank you so much.